Good evening, everyone. We're going to call the school committee meeting together. Today is Monday, December 4th, 2023. Our next meeting will take place on Monday, January 8th, 2024, here at 6 p.m. As always, we will first pledge allegiance to our flag. We'll then have a moment of silence for our veterans. Our clerk will then take attendance. Our Vice Chair, Ms. Spadafora, will introduce translation services. We will then get into this evening's agenda, which consists of the minutes from November 13th, followed by public comment. We'll have an update, the superintendent's report, subcommittee reports, one from Ms. Spadafora, and then under motions and resolutions, there are 4 concerning district cell phone policy, student absence policy, vandalism and damage of district property, and finally, school council membership list. There will then be moments of personal privilege. From there, we will entertain a motion to go into executive session for 4 purposes. The first is to approve the executive session minutes of November 13th. The second is to conduct collective bargaining for SEIU Local 888 Clerical Unit grievance. The third is non-union salary raise for Malden out of school time director. And then finally, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for contract negotiations with the superintendent of schools. Then depending on what happens there, we'll come out. We may act or not act on any of those matters in executive session. And that will be followed by a motion to adjourn. So that's the way I see it. Any questions, queries, qualms, concerns? If not, let's pledge allegiance to our flag.
Recording in progress.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of all those who have fought for our country and continue to do so today. Thank you. We'll now have our clerk take attendance to ensure that we have a quorum sufficient to allow us to meet this evening.
Mayor Christensen?
Here.
Mr. Drummond?
Here.
Mr. McCarthy?
Here.
Ms. Spadafora?
Here.
Ms. Macklin?
Here.
Ms. Orty?
Here.
Mr. Gray?
Here.
Mr. Bernard?
Here.
Ms. Rose Zybert?
Here.
Superintendent Noriega Murphy? Assistant Superintendent Pena?
Here.
Student Representative Abel?
All right, so we have a quorum sufficient to allow us to come together. Now let's go to our Vice Chair to introduce tonight's translation services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did activate our translation services a little bit earlier this evening just to run a test as we had been having issues. So translation services has been activated. If you would like to participate in your chosen language, you can do so by accessing the interpretation channels below. Thank you again, Vox Translation, for being here tonight.
Very good. Regular session minutes from November 13th. Motion by Mr. Bernard, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Everybody's had a chance to look at those. No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to those? That carries unanimously. Now we're at public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the community to address the school committee. We only ask that you state your name and address for the record. Public comment will be open for 2 minutes per speaker. Anybody wishing to address the school committee can do so now. We'll have our vice chair check online. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Michael Zemba. My pronouns are they, them, and I live at 19 Washington Street here in Malden. I actually didn't plan to speak at today's meeting because I'm exhausted, and as Lithia knows, I resigned and my last day will be on December 22nd. And she also knows the reasons, as I sent her a letter that has a lot of paragraphs, but it's just one page. Today, my Malden Public Schools account was disabled during the school day, and I'm sure that this was an error. This interrupted my 8th grade math class, and it made it impossible to continue that class. It made it impossible to facilitate the following ELA class, and I was not able to continue with the science class that was supposed to happen in my classroom either. And as I'm sure you can imagine, this was very frustrating for me, and also I'm in special education. I've got a small group of learners who have IEPs. They have their own behavioral needs, and this disruption was not good for them, and they didn't learn anything. So I have a few questions. Why did it take only 2.5 weeks to disable my account, and why early? And why did it take about 6 weeks to set up the Malden Public School account for the ESP assigned to my classroom, who has been assigned to my classroom since the first day of school? I looked at the emails. It was October when it was verified that the ESP had an account. In the last school committee meeting, Gary asked Lihia if a teacher could ditch Amplify, quoting my public comment. And I would like to know, what was your intention there? And lastly, I know that Lihia is not here, but I would like to know, what is your why, Lihia? Why do you want to work with the children here in Malden? And I want it to be based on something other than data. Thank you. And before leaving, I implore everyone here to reach out to Congresswoman Catherine Clark, who is a nearby resident, and demand that she support HRES 786, which will bring a much-needed ceasefire in Gaza and occupied Palestine in Israel. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to address the school committee can do so now. Public comment remains open. Okay, nobody online as well, so we'll close that portion of the meeting. Let's now go to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Wait for the... Okay, so if we get started with the agenda today, you'll see it's a pretty brief report. We'll just do a quick review of the dates for our winter break, review our district enrollment, and discuss the NEASC visit that is upcoming for Malden High School, review some of the curricula that we have in place, and then there's the Forestdale video that we're going to review today. So we want to just start by wishing everyone a happy winter break. The next time we see each other will be January 2024. And in the next slide is just a reminder that there's an early release on the 22nd, and that the winter break is from December 25th through January 2nd, and students return and resume school on January 3rd. So just a quick review of our enrollment. You could see here it's broken down by school and by grade, and as of December 3rd, we are at 6,472 students. So a quick overview of the NEASC, which is the New England Association of Schools and Colleges accreditation that is happening at the high school. And so here on this slide, I want to start by saying that Dr. Noriega Murphy has a lot of experience with school accreditations, especially working closely with NEASC. And so we are pledging all the support that we can to the high school in going through this process, which already started last year, and we have been collaborating with them. All schools need this accreditation in order for our diplomas to be valid. And there is a visit that is scheduled for the high school that will be in May of 2024, and that date is also going to be shown momentarily. But some of the commitments of NEASC is really a lot around equity and inclusion. So you could see the bullets in the previous slide around advancing equity and inclusion, promoting inclusion and diversity, embracing identities, values, and perspectives. It's around having the difficult conversations that have to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then the last bullet around the policies and procedures that help us promote practices and opportunities that are inclusive. The accreditation process, which is the next slide, has a few components. So the self-reflection is completed by the school, and that was done last year, along with a collaborative conference that also took place last year in November. The next three bullets, which is the school growth plan, the reflective summary, and the decennial, which is their 10-year visit, that's what we're working on right now, the visit planned for May. And then here in the next slide, it just shows you a breakdown of the standards of accreditation. So there are 5 standards. Standard 1 is around learning culture. Standard 2 is student learning. Standard 3, professional practices. Standard 4, learning support. And 5, learning resources. And those are all have to do with like our alignment to the Massachusetts curriculum framework and to the Mass Core. And then if you just look across to our foundational elements, it's taking each of the standards and breaking them down a little bit further. So for standard 1, learning culture, it has 1A and 2A, just unpacking a little bit for us what each of these standards mean. So if you want to take a minute, you can glance through those. So then, based on the visit that we had last year in November, they give us commendations, which are things that they feel that we are doing well, and then they also give us recommendations. So this slide is all of the things that I think are worth reading bullet by bullet, because these are all the things that we're really doing well. And so it's, the commission was impressed with how the school was safe and inclusive community that celebrates the diversity of the community, the addition of the flex blocks to provide academic support and enrichment opportunities for all students, the opportunities for students to exercise voice and choice in assignment and assessments, the 9th grade academy that allows administrators, teachers, and support professionals to work collaboratively to promote the academic, social, and emotional success of all students across the 4 houses, the Teen Health Center that provides students and the community access to a clinician, psychiatrist, community agencies, and other health resources, the Saturday Acceleration Academy that supports students at risk for failure and provides credit recovery opportunities to reduce student retention, the local and higher education partnerships that support and enhance student learning, the addition to a Title I coach to support literacy and numeracy skills, and the community and district's commitment to providing school buildings and facilities that support the delivery of high-quality curriculum and a variety of programs and services. And then this next page, these are the areas of growth or recommendations that they are giving us. And so the main one you will see is that there needs to be a written curriculum in a consistent format for all courses and all departments across the school. And if you look at the parentheses and you reference back to the standards, that is standard 2. And then under the foundational standards is substandard 2A. So it's under student learning. And then in terms of areas that the team will focus on when they come visit, will have to do with a growth improvement plan that the school will have to write. And that plan is based on areas that the school itself has identified that they want to grow in. So some of those are to ensure the school's core values, beliefs about learning, and vision of a graduate drive student learning, professional practices, learning and support, and the allocation of learning resources. And the school provides feedback to learners and their families on each learner's program in achievement. In each learner's program in achievement, this vision of a graduate, in achieving, I should say, this vision of a graduate. Then the second one is to develop and implement a plan to ensure that the school community takes collective responsibility for the intellectual, physical, social, and emotional well-being of every student and can demonstrate how each student is known, valued, and connected to the school community. To ensure that the school-wide organizational practices are designed to meet the learning needs of each student. To develop and implement instructional practices designed to meet the learning needs of each student and provide formal time for educators to engage in ongoing reflection, collaboration, and professional development to improve student learning and well-being, as well as examine evidence of student learning and well-being to improve curriculum, instruction, assessment practices, and programs and services. They also want to develop and implement productive student, family, community, business, and higher education partnerships that support learning and develop and implement a written curriculum in a consistent format for all courses in all departments. So the student or the growth improvement plan that the school is working on will focus on addressing what they've been doing to address these standards. And then, as we mentioned, the 10-year visit is scheduled this year, and so that is scheduled from May 4th through the 7th of, is it 2025, Erin, or should it, 2025? Okay. 2025, okay. So we just wanted to revisit some of the discussions that we had about curricula at our last meeting. So we showed you a slide that showed all of the new curricula that we have adopted. So the next slide shows for literacy, for math, for history, for science, and for social emotional learning, everything that has been implemented in the last 3 to 4 years, or it's currently in pilot phase. But there were some questions because this isn't comprehensive of everything that we have. So if you go to the next slide, this is comprehensive of everything that we have for curricula for pre-K to 5th grade. And so you could see it broken down by content area. And then the following slide is all of the curricula that we have for grades 6th through 8th. And the last 2 slides are all of the curricula that we have for 9th through 12th grade. And that brings us to our Forestdale video. And we have our Forestdale principal, Adam Waldi, here to support if there's any issue getting the video started. It's not even linked?
It's not even a link.
Who would I call?
No, Soup sent me a separate, just in case it didn't work.
Okay.
So
Oh, okay.
Give me one
Do you want me
second.
to take some Q&A questions?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, while we're linking to that video, any questions of our Assistant Superintendent on the report that was just provided? Let's go to Ms. Horty.
Hi.
Hi.
I had a question. I know that NEASC focuses primarily on high school, which clearly is important, but one of the things I noticed, especially in the growth section, sorry, I'm just gonna go back there for a second, was providing formal time for educators to engage in ongoing reflection, collaboration, and professional development. I think that's incredibly important, but one of the things I'm wondering about, and maybe this has been touched upon before, is because of the way our system is broken up with 5K to 8 schools, we have, especially in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, you know, a teacher that's teaching civics in one school, but then is never collaborating with the other 8th grade teachers teaching civics. Have we thought at all about how we can put them together so that they can have these similar opportunities? I know they're not in the same building, but
Yes.
just wondering.
Yeah, so we started to leverage a few things. Our early release PD days have been an opportunity for the directors to plan for PD across the middle school content areas. And in addition to that, we also were able to leverage some of our ESER 3 funds to stipend teachers to stay after school with their content directors to be able to meet and to collaborate. In addition to that, we have several grants that allow us to continue, even though ESER 3 funds are now all accounted for, but we have ELA grant and we have a math grant. I'm not sure we have a history grant. I think we might not have gotten that one, but that allows us to continue to offer these opportunities and pay for that time, because you're absolutely correct. We don't have enough time for our teachers to meet. So we are really trying to think outside of the box in how to provide those opportunities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? If I may, just from the chair, I want to focus on this NEASC report because I really believe this is great news for our community. And is it any coincidence that we received this report while our student representative is heavily involved at that high school? Let me ask you, and I want to focus on the one area, and maybe Ms. Craven could speak to it. The foundation element that is not being met, is that in the hierarchy of things something that is easily repairable, or is it going to require much more?
So I will say, and Erin, feel free to come up and add, I will say that our program of studies is definitely trying to ensure that we align what like a pacing guide looks like across all of our content areas. We're looking to add a syllabus that looks the same across the content areas. And then we're also linking the curriculum that we're using to the program of studies. However, it is much easier to do when we have high-quality instructional materials that we have purchased, and it's easy to link to their platforms. I think because there are so many offerings at the high school, that's not the format across the board. And if I'm not mistaken, what they're asking for is that uniformity across the board. And so I see you nodding. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, and I think that's what makes it challenging.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say, is the director teams worked really hard the past 2 years to create alignment around math, science, history, English. And then we have these excellent electives at Malden High School around engineering and auto shop and business, and those were homegrown curriculums in a lot of ways that do align with all the standards, but haven't been put into a written format, as you'll see it say. It'll say the same formatting. So the formatting is something that we've been working on last year, this year, and into next year. I will say great strides were made this past program of studies in 23-24. You can see the pacing guides for all the different units of all the subjects, and I think trying to bring those into greater alignment with one another in terms of formatting, so that a student who's seeing, you know, Math 2 with one teacher has the exact same experience as with another teacher, and then alongside, as well as the electives, matching formatting to how we deliver those standards. But yeah.
Okay, when it comes time, I would suggest involving Ms. Littlejohn and Ms. O'Toole, who are here this evening. They've done a lot of work in this area, along with Ms. Spadafora. So, because we want 100% on this report. It's very close to
Absolutely.
that. I was quite impressed. Congratulations to you, the principal, everyone.
I mean, the credit goes to the MHS teachers and administration. You know, I'm just a small part of that. But yeah, absolutely, stakeholders, including caregivers that have some experience.
And you think it is
idea.
fixable? That is something
Oh,
we,
yeah. Absolutely. We've been on that way. I think it's more some of the electives that have come out of great minds, but we're not forced into alignment with other things.
Okay, thank you. And after accreditation, how long is that good for?
10 years.
Every 10 years. Okay. All right, back to Ms. Spadafora.
Just really quickly before we start the video, I just wanted to highlight, because you took my question, Mr. Chair, in regards to the written curriculum that was highlighted, but I also wanted to highlight that even though we have not met, they do speak to it in the bottom paragraph as well, saying that they're pleased to see that the visiting team confirmed that it's a priority area of growth for us.
Got it.
So we've worked really diligently. I know our policy and procedure subcommittee in improving the program of studies that has really come a long way where there's clickable links now that brings you into the curriculum to see exactly what your student's learning. So I think if we continue to focus on that and the great job that MHS is doing to make sure everybody is involved and knows, from students to parents, what each student is garnering when they sit down in the classroom.
All right, very good. Let's see, we have Ms. Horty, and then we're going to go to Ms. Rose Zyberg. Ms. Horty, let me go to Ms. Rose Zyberg, who hasn't spoken yet, and then I'll swing back to you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quick question on the curricula for grades 6 to 8 under STEM, where it's listed for Linden, Salemwood, and Ferryway. I'm just curious why not at Forestdale and Beebe? It was page 17 in the slides.
Yeah,
Do you want Mr. Dias to come up?
yes.
Mr. Dias? Let's have Mr. Dias come up. Before that, Ms. Spadafora, you had a comment?
And Mr. Dias can correct me if I'm wrong, I do know that BB was having difficulty in hiring a STEM teacher. So I think
That's right.
that was one of our issues at BB.
That is exclusively the issue.
Okay, so I
They've
stole your
advertised-
thunder.
They advertised and been unable to find a viable candidate, or in some cases, any candidate.
Ms. Rose Zyberg? Okay. Thank you. Over to Ms. Horty.
I apologize, I forgot to ask this
Please.
sooner. For the accreditation process, one of the areas also was, it says, develop and implement a productive student, family, community, business, and higher ed partnership that support learning. Can you give me a couple of examples of some of either current projects like that or projects that that the district is interested in developing?
Yeah, could you speak to that, Erin? I know that each of these standards has a committee with a chair that leads them, and so I
Could
think
you, it was just, which bullet was it? I
it's,
was trying to follow along.
If you
There was a
go
lot of them
to
on those
the-
slides.
It's the second to last one.
develop and implement productive student, family, community, business, and higher education partnerships that support learning, 3.6.
So for the most part, one of the ones we've cultivated the greatest is a relationship with the community colleges, Bunker Hill in particular. We just became a designated early college program from the state this past year. We've had a dual enrollment early college program with them for about 10 years. I would say our greatest partnership around businesses is through the Mass Hire Foundation. So we have a job coach who's with us a couple days a week. We do sort of community internships and business placement and job stuff, all with Mass Hire as our point person for the engagement with businesses, career fairs, job fairs of that nature. Trying to see. Did I press on the right slide?
It's the second to last one.
Oh, yeah, so I mean, that's most of it. People who've been around for more than 3 or 4 years, remember we had a robust senior internship program. We'd like to return to some semblance of that. COVID sort of threw that away. But that was something that students took the fourth quarter and went to a local business and did a full internship, full-time release, assuming grades were in order and classes were passed. So that was another, that's something we're looking to bring back. But I would say our strongest partners for community businesses, other than the city of Malden, of course, is Mass Hire and our local community colleges.
Thank
If
you.
anyone has any other ideas, let me know.
Thank you. Let's go to our student representative.
So I just wanted to quickly go back to the curricula, because I feel like currently our curriculum is made by, like, the decisions are predominantly made by people who aren't in the classroom every single day. So again, we talked about the panel last time with the superintendent, but I wanted to reach out to not make it just high school students, but maybe students from 5 to 8 as well, because they're the ones that are gonna be learning this, like Eureka, everything, because I know my little sister, she's always complaining about it, always saying this, always asking for help. So I feel like having their input as well, and maybe even the teachers would help. So I wanted to ask if that would be possible.
Yeah, well, I definitely love the idea of including middle school students in the process for any curriculum that would be implemented at the high school, which will they be consumers of. Teachers are definitely involved in the process, so we will continue to do that. But I really do like that suggestion of the middle school students.
Thank you. Any other questions before we go to the video? All right, let's do it.
Welcome. You know, at the Forestdale School, our mantra is that we have pride. Pride is an acronym. It stands for positivity, respect, independence, determination, and excellence. While it's also an acronym, it's also pretty clear that pride describes how people feel about being a part of this school community. I feel proud being here. I feel proud of the adults who work here in our building with our students, the work that goes on in our classrooms every day. I feel proud of the love that they have for our students, for our families. We have an amazing PTO. We have incredibly supportive community partners. This year for us, I think, is all about building on a strong foundation. What we can do to communicate a little bit more and differently. To take a look at the things that we're doing from a different lens, pushing a little bit harder academically, and really seeing what we can accomplish when we work together.
Pride to me is something that has been building here throughout my entire career. I've had many roles here in Malden in the 28 years that I've been here, but being the assistant principal at the Forestdale School is absolutely the best. This place is special, unique, and pride is one of the strongest things that we have.
I have pride being a part of this great community. My kids go to school here. I love coming to work here every day, and it's so clear how people take care of each other and look out for each other in this school.
I'm proud to be part of the Forestdale community because I was able to join a school with a solid foundation. I've been able to bring a fresh set of eyes to issues facing our school and to be able to identify places where we can push our faculty and students academically has been a great thing to be a part of.
Pride to me really embodies the inclusion that we strive for in this building, especially with our special education students. Our ILP program is part of our pride and joy at the Forestdale. I was proud to teach in it and am proud to help lead it because I love seeing how much the students are growing, learning, and becoming a part of our community.
Pride also really encompasses all of the values and attributes that our students strive for each day as learners and as people. Each month we focus on one aspect of the acronym PRIDE as a building, and our students of the month are nominated based on those values. So last month was positivity, this month will be respect, and we'll be giving out our certificates this Friday as well. The kids absolutely love it, but not as much as we do.
Every time I'm in the library, I see the picture of Steve Feldstein, my principal. He made me feel like I was loved, challenged, I could be anything I wanted to be. That's what we all want for our students, especially those of us who went to school here in Malden and want to be to our students what we had in our educators. I've been an ESP, a teacher, an assistant principal, a principal in other districts. It's different, knowing that I sat in these seats and was inspired to learn and achieve right here. At the end of the day, that's what we all want, whether we've chosen to come here and set roots here, or whether we're giving back to the schools and the community that raised us. One thing is really clear, the Forestdale School is full of pride and full of joy.
Thinking about having them do the City of Malden promotional video.
State of the Union.
Yeah, that was pretty well done. And Mr. Waldi, please extend my gratitude to Miss Foley. If you don't know, I attended what they call First Chapter Fridays on Friday. And I've never done it this way, but I might start doing it this way, which is to just pick up a book and you read the first chapter, and that's it. And you talk to the students about what they thought, whether or not they might pick it up themselves, what didn't they like. And it just brought me back. I mean, I think at one point I was raising my arms as I was reading and walking around the room. I mean, it really was an interesting way of getting students to read. And I wanted to, congratulate her and thank her for the opportunity. All right, are there any questions? If not, we'll move on to the next order of business, which is subcommittee reports and discussions. Policy and Procedures Subcommittee. So this is a summary of what's been happening, and then we'll get to motions and resolutions. So let's go to Ms. Spadafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Policy and Procedures Subcommittee met last Thursday, November 30th, to discuss the 3 items that are listed below under motions and resolutions. It was our last meeting of this 2 years of being on a subcommittee, and I have to say, our members are so dedicated and ask like really great questions, especially when it comes to these are the rules, the laws that we're following in our district. So it's really important that we get it right.
Ms. Spadafora, for the audience's edification, you want to name them?
So we have Ms. Dawn Macklin, as well as Mr. Robert McCarthy, and Mr. Adam Weldy, whom we lost. So we've been sitting with about 3, just to get our quorum in.
Yep.
And it has been a pleasure to sit with all of them. I think there's great questions that come out of the meetings and the work that allows the superintendent and her team to really build upon the policies that make the district run. So in our last meeting, we did discuss the district cell phone policy, and that was brought to us right after summer break in response to DESE Commissioner bringing forth this idea of having cell phone hotels, essentially in all classrooms. And the superintendent did speak to it being a disruption within the district in the sense of students taking out their phones when they should be learning. So we will get to that policy a little bit more in depth. The student absence policy, I brought this forward just because at the beginning of the school year, we had a few parents that were concerned in regards to what absences were being excused, not excused, particularly because a student may have a fever, but that parent might not be able to get a written sign-off from a doctor to say, in fact, my child is not able to come to school. So we looked into leveraging our in-house, our nurses, to be able to excuse those absences. And then finally, we discussed a new policy of vandalism and damage to district property. And I think, unfortunately, this goes hand in hand with student behavior coming out of COVID, and we've seen an uptick in destructive behavior within our schools. There is a level of consequence to behaviors, as well as trying to figure out why these behaviors are happening, but also when the property that's being destroyed is of high monetary value, it's very difficult for the district to continuously replace toilets. And yes, toilets are being ripped off of the walls and bathrooms. We did have an incident where something was set on fire during the year. So we wanted to look at how we would handle the vandalism. Unfortunately, that's happening in our schools. So I can stop there and we can jump to motions and resolutions.
All right, everyone. So first up, district cell phone policy.
So, and I invite my colleagues that sit in this policy to also give any input if you feel necessary. The district cell phone policy has So grades 9 through 12, the policy is remaining the same, and that is the student can keep the cell phone on them as long as it's in a backpack, a pocket, like it has to be out of sight and not in use. If it is in sight, there is consequences to violating that cell phone policy. It will be taken away by an assistant principal. First time, second time, it'll be taken away and you can't bring it back. Third time, your parents are involved and it's not coming back to school the rest of the year, so on and so forth. The biggest change is the pre-K to 8, in which some teachers are already actually doing this, and we're seeing a lot more learning happening, especially in the middle school grade level. I don't, even though the policy is pre-K, you really don't have any kindergarteners walking in with their iPhone 15. But for middle school, or specifically elementary school, students will turn in their cell phones into their homeroom at the beginning of said day, and it will be locked into these cell phone hotels. Some of them come with chargers, so at the end of the day, the cell phone is then turned back over to the student, fully charged for, say, their walk home or whatever they need. They want to listen to music, whatever it may be. It stays with the homeroom, so in the sense of our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that rotate out, they start their day in their homeroom and they end their day in their homeroom, so they're able to drop off the cell phone with the teacher. It gets locked up. It's in the front of the classroom, so it's visible, so you can make sure you can see nobody's tampering with it, nobody's, has access to it. I find that it's probably a lot safer than just a student leaving it in a locker. So that is the change to the cell phone policy, and it did get approved out unanimously from subcommittee.
Questions from the members? Any questions? And let's see, we have Mr. Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just two questions come to mind, and part of it is because I came in, I was listening in the background of the meeting. Do we have an exception for kids that might have a learning plan or an educational plan that requires them to go and have the phone on their person in cases of anxiety or a need? Is there any?
Yes, and Ms. Macklin brought that up specifically in the meeting, that students that may have the need for a cell phone written into their IEP because maybe they learn better listening to music, or they do have anxiety and need to touch base with mom or dad or a caregiver throughout the day. IEP is a legal contract. So if it's in that, we cannot violate that.
And then just the second question is, I know that we've got a statement here that we're not responsible for the devices. If at the end of the day you have a kid that is distractible, like I was when I was a kid, and walks out of the school without his phone, his or their phone, do we have anything in the procedures to go and get that phone quickly to them, or to say, yes, we're okay, we'll hold it for the day or over the weekend?
That's actually a really good one that the question never came up. I would suspect, and I'm only saying suspect because my own child has left his cell phone in a class, and the teacher reached out to myself and said, hey, FYI. But it's not in the policy, so I don't know if that's something that we can amend or create just a best practice. If a student's cell phone gets left behind and the teacher, I don't know if like the hotel's almost like a locker is assigned, so the teacher would then know that's Amy Jones' cell phone, let me shoot mom or dad or whomever we have in Aspen a quick note just to say they left their phone. It's gonna remain locked, it's in a lockbox that nobody can access. It'll be here either when they return in the morning or we can make arrangements, but I'd be happy to revisit that to create some sort of.
I'm happy to go and just to let you know, just to vote for this now, and maybe we go and we put it on to the docket for the policies and procedures for next session.
Happy to.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Bernard. Ms. Rose Zyberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quick questions on With the cost for the hotels, is that out of pocket from the teachers? Are they buying them on their own? And has there been any issue with people who do use those, of kids making even an honest mistake and grabbing the wrong phone? Just going in and thinking, they all look the same and grabbed one?
So I haven't heard of any, and I don't know if our assistant superintendent, if you've gotten word from teachers that children have taken someone else's and I would suspect that, I don't know, my phone is near and dear to me, so I'm just grabbing mine because I don't want anybody else to grab it. That's my sense from kids, like, that's my phone. I'm going to take it.
Some of the younger kids, said, I know that you can grab one and just think, and then you look down and go, wait a minute, what? Why can't I open this? And is it out-of-pocket expense for the staff?
So I don't have that answer for you. We purchase them. I do know that there was talk at DESE about providing grants to cities that agreed to do this, upwards of $10,000. I don't recall the exact number. It came out in a meeting May or June, talking about, being able to financially help districts. So I'd be more than happy to follow up, but as Ms. Pena said.
I have a response from some of our wonderful principals that must be watching online, letting us know, thank you, Van. There's been no issues with kids taking phones that don't belong to them. Also wanted to let us know that admin have a key to the lockbox. So if a teacher notices that a student left the phone, they let administration know. They also have a key. They contact the family as you were contacted, and they can come pick up the phone.
Thank you, Ms. Van.
Thank you, Ms. Rose-Iberg. Anybody else? So, Mr. Bernard, do you want to formally schedule that for January, or do you want to let the policy play out and see if it's an issue? Then we could come back to...
I'm happy to go and see it. I think that it wouldn't hurt us to go and maybe
Put you on.
formalize it at some point, but, since this is new, if we go and we let it go for, over Christmas, people, and see what happens, and if it becomes an issue, I'm sure that, come March, we'll have a good feeling for it.
All right, Madam Clerk, so we'll let it play out, and then if need be, we'll schedule a session to further amend the policy. But for now, what's before you is what we're about to vote on. And if the committee was to adopt this, it would take effect?
Immediately.
All right, so Ms. Spadafora, you're making the motion as the chair. Is there a second? Ms. Macklin? We'll come to you on the next one. Any questions, everyone? You've had time to look it over. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, that carries unanimously. Student absence policy. Spadafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, this came out of concern from parents in regards to our attendance policy when it comes to excused absences. So at the beginning of the year, a concerned parent had to pull their student out of school who had a fever, but couldn't get an appointment with their pediatrician immediately to be able to get a sick note. And was concerned that those absences would be unexcused, and our policy is for unexcused absences equals a 59 grade. So in working with the superintendent, we still would prefer if it's possible, if your student is sick and you go to the pediatrician's office and you say they test for strep or whatever, the note is preferable. However, if you keep your child sick home because they're not feeling well, and you give our our nurse or principal a phone call and say, hey, they've had a 101 temperature for 3 days, no need for them to see a principal, a doctor, but I'm just keeping them home to make sure we don't spread whatever bug. The school nurse will then determine next steps, and 99.999% of the time, that is an excused absence. So the only change to the current policy that exists is the verbiage. If a student is sick and cannot attend school, the caregiver must notify the school and consult with the principal or school nurse to determine next steps. Any student who is absent over and this isn't new, I'm just continuing, 3 consecutive days must report to the main office with their note and may be asked to see a school nurse. And when they say with their note, a note from home is sufficient.
All right, everyone, there you have it. And that was voted unanimously?
That was also voted unanimously
All right.
out of
Let's
subcommittee.
check in with our student representative.
I
Not
just
that
had
this will
one-
affect her.
I just had one small question. Is this what's happening right now, or is this what we're going to be implementing?
So once, if my colleagues approve tonight, it would start tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Immediately.
All right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Thank you. Anybody else? Let's go to Ms. Horty, and then we'll go to Ms. Rose Zyberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the things that I am not seeing written down on the excused absence policy, I see noted there that there's medical appointment, but obviously this is my background specific, but there are often students who need to participate in mental health treatment that is during the school day for extended period of time. And it's not clearly outlined here in that way. It says a medical appointment, but I'm thinking of a student who might need to participate for a week-long program, an intensive therapeutic program for the week, which is not uncommon. And I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can also put mental health treatment within that, or something, some sort of language, so that we're covering that as an option as well.
I'm just wondering, and I agree with you, having a child myself that attends a lot of appointments with therapists and so on and so forth, if disability-related absence.
I agree with you on that, but if I'm a parent, I don't know that that is going to, that's going to make me say, is this covered under there? I just want it to be very explicit in the language.
Absolutely.
Let's, Ms. Spadafora,
Yep.
our Assistant Superintendent may have something to add.
I'm just wondering if under medical or psychological testing during the school day, if you feel that that word there, psychological testing or anything like that, would fit what you're describing, that could result in longer-term absences that then would be covered? No? Okay.
Thank you, though.
Ms. Horty, I wonder if you start breaking it down, does it take away from the all, I always viewed medical appointment as all-encompassing.
I think my thought on this is, when you say to someone, I have a medical appointment, they assume it's a physical appointment. And that leaves, I think really what I'm trying to get at here is that if a student isn't there for a mental health reason, they should also have the excused absence. And I think it gets fuzzy when we don't have that specific language
Gotcha.
there.
Okay. All right, let's hear from some others. Let's see what Ms. Rose Zyberg has to say.
Thank you. I have a question on the 4 or more unexcused absences in a quarter, requiring the teacher to give the student a 59 for that quarter. I'm curious how that impacts that student's continued attendance after getting a 59. Say you bang out and your first week. Do you keep coming to school, or are you like, well, I already,
You
I
asked
already
the same
failed.
question that Ms. Macklin asked in our subcommittee meeting. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Macklin, in the explanation that the superintendent gave to us, especially at the high school level. So we have what's called buyback days, that if they had those 4 unexcused absences, the teacher, assistant principal, principals, guidance counselors, work with those students to get the work that they missed completed and pretty much buy back those unexcused absences, so they're not penalized for.
So they don't get that 59?
Correct. So I loved the idea when she explained it, because I think we're really looking at it proactively, that sometimes an unexcused absence just happens. Life happens. And we don't want to see chronic absenteeism. We talk about this at every single meeting.
Yep.
So this is a way for us to encourage students, like, hey, we know you're having a tough time right now. We're going to work with you. Let's get those grades back up and make sure that we're encouraging school. So.
I agree. Yeah, the important part for the kids to continue with their education and making up whatever they've missed for whatever reason that they were out.
Yeah.
Great.
So it is a policy, and again, the policy stands, because if the student doesn't want to do the work, if they're just like, I mean, we're putting it out there, we're saying we're gonna help you. If the student just says, nope, I don't want to, then we have to issue the 59, but we are proactively working, you know, we have a great attendance officer, and making sure that, you know, kids or students are given that opportunity, because again, life happens.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you, Ms. Rose Nyberg. So what say you, Ms. Horty? Do you want to amend, or do you want to, we could table it till next meeting, or let's see what the chair thinks.
I'm happy to amend on the floor.
Okay.
And add in, what's the verbiage, like therapeutic services or mental health services?
Let me put your light on
I know, I'm
this.
putting you on the spot, but as the professional in this area,
I want to make sure, yeah, that we use the right terminology there, because I don't want, not that anyone would ever do this, but I don't want them to make a regularly scheduled therapy appointment where they happen to miss math class, you know, or something like that. I want it to be very specific in terms of the intensiveness of the programs that I'm thinking of.
the only reason I suggest amending on the floor is just so we can have it on being, you know, followed as of tomorrow. And if we'd have to wait for the new year and the chair is going to be choosing new subcommittee members, it may take us a while to schedule this meeting.
I mean, Ms.
So-
Horty, what we could do is adopt what's been presented and then just swing back in January with a further amendment to the policy if you wanted time to think about it and check around to see what might make sense.
Yes, that'll give me
Okay.
a little bit of investigation
Okay,
time.
so we're going to continue on with what's being presented if there's no objection and if there are no other questions. So we'll rely on Ms. Horty to further investigate that aspect of the policy and potentially come back in January with a further amendment. But for now, everybody good with what's in front of them? So this is a motion by Ms. Spadafora, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions on that, everyone? All right, chair hears none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, that carries unanimously. Vandalism and damage of district property.
All right, so this would be a new policy to the district. And specifically, the way it was presented, and this was at the request of the superintendent, it's more or less following Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 266, crimes against property, more specifically defacement of real or personal property, and the penalties for willful, malicious, or wanton destruction or injury to personal property, dwelling, house, or building of another. And the acts of vandalism include but are not limited to electronic hardware and software, such as unauthorized access, unauthorized modification, installing or removal of programs, tampering with restricted files, infringing copyright laws, changing settings on any computer or technology resource that should only be changed by the administrator. And then we move into graffiti and defacing equipment, building, etc., destroying equipment or property in any way, classrooms, offices, shared areas, playgrounds, tampering with equipment or property, including unauthorized modifications. Specifically, technology-wise, we were able to purchase over 7,000 Chromebooks during COVID with our ESSER 1, I think. I'm looking at Ms. Mertz back there. Thank you. And obviously, that was quite a while ago, and these laptops are not going to be under warranty forever. And they are unfortunately being destroyed by some of our students, in which we would just take them and issue a new Chromebook. So we're going to run out at some point, and I'm sure Ms. Martz does not want to have to continuously budget thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars to replace laptops. So what would happen is any vandalism or damage to district property, there would be an investigation. The district would set a restitution payment. They'd be willing to work with families. They create a payment plan, but also looking for the student to acknowledge the behavior with maybe a letter of apology. But more or less, we're looking for some ownership to the destruction of property. And that's not just laptops. That is if you deface the hallway with graffiti, and our custodians put a lot of time and care and work into our buildings to keep them clean, and that now takes more effort for them to, again, paint. And then if the damage is over $1,000, we legally have to contact our local PD and file a police report. So that is also listed in here, out of district, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 266, if the cost of the damages are $1,000 or more, and if there's evidence of hate crime, vandalism, there's an investigation, a police report, and that can result in fines and or imprisonment. So, you know, I think as a district, we do a really great job of implementing restorative practices when we need to, and trying to find the root cause of behaviors. We have amazing adjustment counselors, but sometimes there just needs to be consequences to the destruction of our property. So that is the vandalism and damage to district property policy. Again, that was voted out unanimously by the subcommittee.
Very good. Questions? Mr. Bernard.
This is not really a question, but just kind of a statement that I agree with this. We would hope that if a student is going through something and has an anger issue and a keyboard gets snapped or a machine gets thrown, but there also has to be a repercussion for that. And I agree with, hopefully we can go and we can do those restorative practices in combination with the consequence. And I think this is a great place to be with this, just to go and say, okay, this is your third computer that you've thrown, what's going on? And you need to go in and figure out how we go and we get this back, because it's not fair to the next student that was counting on that computer, student that wanted to go and use the bathroom and it's been rendered unusable, or something truly offensive that has gone and been painted on a wall or in a stall somewhere that someone's going to go and take time and effort to go and clean up. So I'm going to be a yes vote on this, definitely.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard. Anybody else? Ms. Rose Zyberg.
Thank you. I do have questions on if we can explain a little more. I'm not sure I understand the difference between the in-district and out-of-district, and when a police report would be triggered. Once a police report is filed, these are cases that people should be aware. These would go into either being misdemeanors or felony charges, potentially, and getting before the court. Once you call in the police, then it becomes up to the police sort of what to do with that. And so we're looking at kids who could be in juvie systems, or if they have reached 18, that they would be potentially facing felony charges. I understand the seriousness of this. Even election day, was over to Linden and found out that kids repeatedly are pulling the stall door off the bathroom. So I get that, like this, we have to do something. But, and to make sure that if, if it comes to police reports, that who's determining when we do that, and to make sure that that is equitable, and make sure that we're doing it fairly and not, punishing certain groups and not punishing other groups. I have concerns with that, how we're going to work that. And I'm curious, the $1,000 thing, I did actually look up the Mass General Law. And like with 127, the cutoff is 1,200 between like a misdemeanor and a felony. So I'm just curious that the 1,000, I couldn't find it. If you can send me at some point where we got the $1,000, was interested in that. And said, yeah, that out-of-district part, I'm not sure I understand if it means when we're not here, like when we're in a different place, or what that means.
Nope.
Ms. Spadafora?
Yeah, so the way it's worded, meaning in district, meaning we're handling it in district.
Okay.
So if there is vandalism, if somebody destroys a Chromebook and the value is $450, it stays in district. We're going to handle it through investigation. I'm actually questioning why it says police report under the in-district, because it's supposed to be in-district.
So that police report, that shouldn't be there. Do you think?
Am I correct in saying that to my committee members when the way I understood it was in-district under $1,000, we were handling it within and creating our own payments based on.
Unless it was a hate crime, then it did need to be.
That's right. Thank you for that clarification. So yes. So hence why a police report, hate crime. Thank you. And then the out of district, meaning the issue is going out of district. It's being referred to the handling by local authorities because of the dollar amount. Now, I'm questioning the 1,000, and I'm more than happy to amend that if it's different from the law that we were.
For 127?
Thank you. And I can possibly follow up with our legal, who's in the audience, to check on it for me.
Mr. Greenspan, would you know off the top? No. Do you want to table this, or?
I'm happy to table it.
Is that what you wish?
I think it's great. I think we need to do something, but just had some of those questions. And just also, have we spoken to the police department on this to let them know that this could be coming their way? Were they involved with this to sort of go over that, of what procedures they would want for us?
They've already been handling instances with the over 1,000 and the hate crime. Our superintendent does meet with the chief of police frequently. So they are aware of our policies and their need. We have some great resource officers already in the building as well, so.
That's great. Great.
All right, anybody else? Let's go to our student rep.
So I just had a small little question about, so like, what are the repercussions that students face when they break it by accident? Because I know that there are some students who will be carrying their Chromebooks in the hallways and then it just drops. Or like, when they enter bathrooms and it's already clogged, they use the bathroom, they don't know that, they flush the toilet and then boom. And they're the ones that are getting in trouble. So I just wanted to know what type of repercussions they would face, or if there's like something behind that.
Yeah, so it states willful and malicious. So doing it on purpose would be the reason that you'd get in trouble for it. If it's by accident, you drop your Chromebook, and we're not chasing you for accidents. Again, same thing. And when I talk about the bathrooms, it's more or less like, we understand that toilets get clogged, and it happens. It's sometimes like kids will literally like stand on top of the toilets and like break them off the walls. So again, willful, malicious, wanton destruction of personal property or injury to, again, anything, building, dwelling. So it has to be with purpose.
Okay.
Back to Ms. Rose Zyberg.
Oh, thank you. A question about when we do provide, the Chromebooks and things, do we have, do they sign off that they're aware that they're responsible for that, and to make that very clear again with this policy, once we update it, I think that it should be added to whatever, I'm assuming it's parents sign off because they're too little, so that they are aware that there's an actual financial obligation here, that if something happens to it. So happy to hear that. And then I'm just curious, with the buildings and even with laptops and things, so we do not have insurance citywide on property and things? I don't know.
That's a great question. I don't know in regards to insurance. I didn't ask that question, so I apologize. I don't know if Ms. Mertz knows if we have insurance on our laptops. I know we had warranties on them, but it was like a 3-year warranty, and then we're kind of on our own.
Let's call up our business manager, Ms. Tony Mertz. Would you know that off the top?
So our Chromebooks do have a 3-year warranty, so we do send them back, no questions asked. But that is all expiring, I believe, in June of this year, because we did purchase them through COVID. And then property and liability insurance the city carries.
Right.
So for some of the damage that's done, does we take a hit on the insurance policies then? If it is, that's what I mean with that, but, okay.
Yeah, we can get that.
Just was
Ms.
curious.
Mertz, could we get that for next meeting?
What was that?
Just what the deductible is, whether or not it's even covered. I suspect it isn't on something like that. But
My guess is it's not. I'd have to coordinate with Chuck Ranigan, since the city carries that insurance and we don't.
my hunch is
Yeah,
it
I'm
isn't.
just curious with the buildings, and more in particular the buildings where, I
Those
know
are.
that there's been different damage and things that have been done
Yeah.
to
Right.
buildings. And then, good to know that we have that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, we can table it
All right.
until the next one so we can get that.
All right, everyone, so we're
financial
gonna
cost.
let this lie for now, okay? So Ms. Mertz will come back with information about the insurance aspect, and then Ms. Spadafora will check on the amount discrepancies, and we'll see if we can come back in January. Right, okay. All right, finally, school council membership list. Ms. Spadafora.
Very easy one. This is just some housekeeping. We approve every year when this list, or the list comes before us. Each school is required to have a school council that consists of parents, staff members, sometimes outside community members, and these are the people that are coming up with our, I'm drawing a blank, I want to say innovation plan, but improvement plan, school improvement plans, thank you. To which those come before us later on in the year and we approve them. So this is just the members for 2023, 2024, and I do want to say thank you to everybody that, there was some elections at school, but just for those that volunteer to be a part of each school's process and just being a part of the team.
Does it need to be voted?
It does need to be voted.
Okay. Any questions on that? Motion by Ms. Spadafora, seconded by Mr. Drummy. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, that carries unanimously. All right, so let's go to personal privilege before we entertain a motion for executive session. We'll go left to right, my left. Mr. Drummy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Speaking of school council meeting at the Fairway is meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. The video link for the meeting is on the parent newsletter that went out, and they're still accepting nominations for parents and staff. PTO meeting is this Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Again, go to the Fairway PTO website. It's a Zoom meeting. The link is on the unit, on the website. Letters and usernames and passwords for parents to set up their Aspen accounts. Aspen portals went out last week. The letters had directions. If a parent didn't get the letter or still needs help, they can contact anyone on the admin team. All progress reports and report cards going forward will be going through the portals, so you need to be able to log in. If you want, you can request a paper report card or progress report. Also, I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday, whether it be Christmas, Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa. Enjoy it with your families. Happy New Year, and I'll see you all next year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Drummy. Let's go to Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So tomorrow, the Malden High School Concert Choir and Madrigals will be touring the State House like they do every year, and they'll be performing on the Grand Staircase as part of the State House Concert Series. The Malden High School Choral Society is having their winter concert at the Jenkins Auditorium on Thursday, December 21st at 7 p.m. It's free admission. And also the Malden High School Band is having their concert on Thursday, December 14th at the Jenkins Auditorium at 7 p.m. The admission is free as well. I'd also like to wish everyone a happy holidays and whatever you celebrate. See you all next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Over to Mr. Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just some announcements from the Salem Wood. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., there's the PTO, there's a meeting of the PTO. It's going to be virtual. I don't have the link, so I would reach out to Ms. Van, and she can go and she can provide that to you. This coming Saturday, from 11 to 1, there's the K through 4 Winterfest. And when you're done going to that, you can go and you can show up to the craft fair that is be going on from 1 to 4 p.m. at the gym. There'll be a meeting on December 19th of the school council, and that will be at 5 p.m. There'll be a middle school holiday concert on the 19th at 7 p.m. at the gym. And then, other than that, I wish everyone a very happy holiday and a restful break.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard. Over to Ms. Rose Zyberg.
Thank you. First, I just want to thank my fellow committee members here too. As you can see, some of us are wearing, or maybe all of us are wearing orange ribbons. I'm part of the Zonta Club of Malden, and part of what we do from November 25th through December 10th is, it's called the 16 Days of Activism, and it's part of the Zonta Says No program, which is to raise awareness of domestic violence and gender inequality. If you look now in the lobby here, we've just put up a display today that will be here for a few days. I encourage you to look at it. I do say, like the facts, once I started looking at them, it is a very sobering experience to look at this information. But we also, there's resources that are listed outside, and also just to understand that this is, it's a big issue. It also touches on lots of different things. The more I started looking into it, even we started looking at there's incidents with, with cyber violence, with teen dating violence. Part of Zonta's mission is to raise awareness and also to take action. Zonta Club of Malden, I was very happy to see that we actually helped with advocating for the end of child marriage in the state of Massachusetts, which people would be shocked when they found out that was in 2022. And it is not illegal in most of the country. Child marriage is still legal. It's one of the big undertakings that Zonta International looks at, not just here in the States, but worldwide. So that's out there. So we use orange because that's the color that I know that other groups do use purple for domestic violence. Orange is a color that the United Nations adopted, and then the Zonta International, so we also do it. So I thank you, folks. There also are, if you'd like to grab a ribbon, there's someone on the counter out there. Zonta will also have upcoming, there's a Women Making a Difference program that we put on, and also we're in the first year of doing we have our preliminary plans for coordinating a health fair for the community. That said, thank you. And for Linden News, the holiday shop started today, and they have a fundraiser at Kelly's Roast Beef, December 5th, 5 to 8. Mention you are there for the Linden PTO. Flyers did go home. There is a Spirit Wear raffle basket, $5 for one ticket, $10 for three. The 8th grade is doing a fundraiser. They'll be selling candy canes December 12th to the 14th, and December 19th through the 21st. After school, those are $1 each. There's an 8th grade committee that's planning a winter wonderland dance for grades 6 to 8, which will be December 15th. That's from 6 to 8, and tickets for that would be $5, which covers admission, music, and pizza. They have Spirit Week, which will be coming up December 18th, and information for the different themes for the days will be coming out. And they are already promoting January 19th from 6 to 8, the middle school art show, which will be in the main lobby. Thank you, and everybody have a great holiday.
Thank you. Ms. Macklin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just from the ELC,
There's a winter clothing drive going on at the ELC currently. It's from November 27th through December 20th. The ELC is collecting new hats, scarves, gloves, mittens, and socks for children through adults. The drive will benefit the Malden Kiwanis Club and our local homeless families. This is the season of giving and supporting our school community and local community. All donations can be dropped off at the ELC. The ELC PTO has partnered with the Forestdale PTO for the Forestdale Gingerbread Cookie Decorating and Craft Fair on Friday, December 8th, from 5:30 to 7:30 at Forestdale. The ELC has 30 slots available, so if anybody's interested in that, flyers have been sent home in the backpack and through Class Dojo. And finally, thank you to all the families and staff that donated food to the ELC food drive to benefit Bread of Life. We collected a lot of food that will be put to good use. So Principal Lawrence thanks everyone for that. And I just want to say, again, it's Mary Malden time. We are actually closing out requests today because we've just been overwhelmed with requests. I think we have over 400 wish lists this year, and last time I was in Trello, it was, I think, 186 families, so far surpassed what we thought we would get this year, and so we've have to close out the requests early. I am thankful and grateful to the directors who stepped up to sponsor a large family. So many new sponsors, local organizations that, you know, just email and say, hey, give us your largest family. Give us 2 large families. So, you know, I continue to be amazed at this great Malden community. It's such an amazing community of givers, and I thank you guys. And we're still seeking sponsors. So please contact me at marymalden2023@gmail.com. Thank you, and happy holidays to everyone.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Horty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tomorrow evening, Tuesday, December 5th, from 4:30 to 6 is parent-caregiver conferences with teachers. A lot of the teachers have had you use either Google Docs or a sign-up Genius. If you have not been able to access that, please reach out to the main office and they will connect you with your child's teacher or teachers. On Thursday, December 14th at 10 a.m., grades 1, 3, and 5 will be hosting a singing performance winter concert for families. And on Friday, December 15th at 10 a.m., grades 6, 7, and 8 will be hosting an instrumental performance by those students participating in the band program. Like Ms. Macklin mentioned earlier, the gingerbread cookie decorating and craft fair is this Friday. Please join both schools. And the PTO meeting for the month will be December 13th at 7 p.m. Please join and find out about the upcoming events. It will be held virtually on Zoom, and the link can be found on the Forestdale PTO Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spadafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on Monday, December 11th at 7 p.m., Malden CPAC invites you to their December meeting, and the topic is Ask the Experts, in which this month you'll be able to, they would like to hear from us, special needs parents, the experts in our own children's education. Also, do you have questions for Malden CPAC about special ed services? Do you have advice from your experiences that you would like to share? So please join that meeting. It will be hosted on Zoom, 7 p.m. December 11th, and I will share that Zoom link on my personal school committee page. As for BB, we have, well, I will say I actually saw Miss Craven on the 1st, and she was just running in from the grade 8 visit to the high school. So our 8th graders are already starting to tour and check out where they could potentially be going in 2024-25. Tomorrow is, the 6th, Title I Magic Show from 6 to 7:30 at Malden High School. December 7th is the grade 8 dance from 6 to 7:45 p.m. The BB School Site Council meeting will be held December 20th at 5 p.m. via Zoom, and they will release that Zoom link, as will I. And again, as everybody has said, please have a happy holiday, and I just again want to wish all of my peers up here, as we are all ending a 2-year term. The next time we see each other will be on inauguration night, so congratulations, and again, I look forward to serving 2 years with all of you, and a thank you to Mr. Waldai for still showing up for some reason or another. Maybe I'm just that bad with the technical stuff, but thank you for your past 2 years, 1.5, here, and we appreciate everything you have done for the students of Malden.
Well said, well said. All right, we'll now entertain a motion to go into executive session. Motion by Mr. Bernard, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spadafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Auty?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Ms. Rose Zybert?
Yes.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes. School committee will now be in executive session.
Thank you, Fox Translation Services. We will see you in 2024.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
All right, everyone, school committee is back. We'll entertain any motions of the body.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Please.
I'd like to make a motion that we increase the salary for the non-union employee, Malden out-of-school time most director to $115,000 effective January 1, 2024.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummond? Yes. Mr. McCarthy? Yes. Ms. Spadafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Hardy?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Ms. Rose Iber? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. Any other business?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Spadafora, seconded by Mr. Drummy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? School committee is hereby adjourned.